Welcome to a very special episode of Nerds and Friends. We have filmmaker and cinephile Drew Smith joining us to do a very special thing, debut his best of 2023 movies list. And I see you've got an office shirt, so we're already off to a good start. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you recognized it immediately.
Oh yes, I saw Michael Scott and I was like, well, there we go. I love it. I
Right.
saw a deleted scene the other day that I don't think I'd seen where the actor who plays Hank the security guard plays Morpheus and they do a
Yeah.
whole
Yes. Yeah.
Matrix
I
prank
saw
on
that. I was
Dwight.
like,
Yeah. I
I
wonder
mean,
why that
I
got
was.
cut because it had a lot of shots, a lot of screen time. I'm really curious why they cut that.
No, I mean, I think it was too obscure for
Okay.
some people, but it's still, it's like sometimes with some of these things, you can't be too niche. You gotta like
Yeah.
be mainstream all the time, but
Well, it
you know,
seemed like
oh,
from the context that it was just before Dwight's marriage, so it was probably a later season of The Office when they were
yeah,
definitely
yeah. I
leaning
think
on the
like the
mainstream.
second to last or last season.
Yeah, so they were leaning pretty heavy on the mainstream. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, dude, let's jump right in because 2023 has been a great year for movies. Um,
Yeah.
I figure, in the interest of good podcasting, we'll save the best for last. Do you want to kind of start at the bottom of your list and work up?
Yeah, I always do that.
Good, yeah. Save. I wanted to jump in and be like, "What's your favorite?" But we'll work our way up. So how long is this list, by the way? Is it a top 10, top 5? What are we looking at?
It's just a top 10 essentially.
Okay.
So,
And before we dive in and talk about number 10, because I figure we'll announce each movie that you've ranked, and I want to hear why you've ranked it there, what you loved about the movie. But before that, if people want to hear more of your film insights, what is your website, Drew?
my website is mrdrewsreviews.wordpress.com. I make sure to put something up every 2 weeks.
Nice.
I've been a bit busy this last month, but starting in the new year, I'm gonna own up to that and just expect something new and different every
Nice.
every couple weeks. So
Well, online consistency is great, but also with the holidays, you got to take time off, so that's good. Well, I'm excited to dive in. So let's jump right in with this Nerds and Friends exclusive of Mr. Drew's reviews at WordPress.com, talking about the top 10 movies of 2023. Drew, hit us with the top, or with number 10 on the list. Which one is it?
number 10, I went with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Very nice. I actually have not seen this movie yet. I've seen every other Indiana Jones movie. Obviously, my favorite's the first. Where would you rank this in the Indiana Jones franchise overall?
It's better than Crystal Skull,
Well, that goes
and
without saying.
it's like there are no fridge fridge scenes. There's no CGI gophers.
Oh, no
They
CGI
actually
gophers. Well,
do
come
a they do a pretty good job with some de-aging CGI because it starts off with him in World War II. Personally, I would have killed for just Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones in World War II, just like going up against Hitler or something, all on Glorious Bastards. Like,
that would be epic.
but still, it was a good introduction,
Yeah.
and essentially, like he's sent by his goddaughter to find the Dial of Destiny, which could allegedly induce time travel. And then
Oh,
Mads Mikkelsen is like the villain. He's like this Nazi that he encountered years earlier. And,
okay.
it's the idea of like like he's retiring as a professor, and it's now
Okay.
1969, and it's a good send off for him, and it was pretty. I thought it was fine, but some other
Yeah.
people uh, would say no, but it was a good send off for him.
Yeah, I heard somewhat mixed reviews, but a lot of people who like Indiana Jones very much enjoyed the movie. So
It is kind of for the fans, yes.
okay, well, and I think for a send off of a franchise like that, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just if you do it well or not, and it sounds like they did it well. I have a quick little segue for you on de aging technology in movies. I saw this. I saw a few scenes of that in the trailer where they de-aged Harrison Ford, and it did look very good. And I figure that's because they had so much footage of Harrison Ford
Oh,
acting
yeah,
at that
yeah,
age.
3 movies worth, and plus, given that Disney owns Lucasfilm, I mean, they had
Yeah,
like they had like hours and like years worth of footage.
Yeah,
So I mean, just like they had a lot of reference.
that's good.
But
Yeah,
the but the one issue though with it is that you can hear that he's older than he looks. That's the one thing
oh,
that took me out of it. Whereas like
they didn't DH his voice.
I mean, but that's a bit difficult. Well, I would say it's a bit difficult, but they did that with James Earl Jones and Obi Wan Kenobi, which
Yeah,
was,
and it
was
sounded very good. And I was gonna
yeah.
say, I mean, I've seen on TikTok just like an AI done cover of like a corn song sang by Mr. Plankton. So like, I think the technology exists. I
It's
don't know
there.
why they did it.
It's
Yeah,
definitely there. And
it's there.
now I'm gonna make a note.
Yes,
Or it's like like actually like there is a good mashup someone did where they took the instrumentation of "Wait and Bleed" by Slipknot and then merged it
nice.
with the lyrics to "Hey There Delilah," and then they made a Deftones song.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll add that to my list. I love that. Well, that is fantastic. So coming in awesome with number 10, Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny. Wasn't that co-written by Phoebe Waller-Bridges?
Yeah,
Maybe?
yeah, and then
Nice.
she's also in it playing as his goddaughter.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I
she's very
thought she was
talented.
fine. No,
Yeah.
no, she even co-wrote "No Time to Die."
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I
Nice.
was like, that'd be great if she could be a Bond villain or something like an ironic villain. Oh,
Yeah. No, I like when someone is good on screen and then can also write for themselves. They tend to be able to write for their characters very well,
yeah,
I've
just like
found.
Ryan
So,
Reynolds with Deadpool.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Wolverine and Deadpool.
I'm excited.
That's I don't. In fact, I don't even care if it'll be almost 3 hours. I'd be fine with that. But
Did I ever tell you my not that interesting Ryan Reynolds story from the Fox Studios lot?
I don't know what happened.
So I was a background extra on a show, and they like were doing like it was during COVID, so it was lots of like they were keeping everyone in separate like
Yeah.
departments and base camps and everything, and so they had to like take your ID and like send you on a bus to the shooting location. So they kept my ID, and I forgot about it because it was a long day of filming. So they contacted me, and they had my driver's license at Fox Studios. So I went to the production office to pick it up, and I couldn't find parking, and the building across from them was the little office building for what is it, Maximum Effort Studios, like
Oh
Ryan
yeah.
Reynolds' production company. And I couldn't find parking anywhere, but there was one empty spot that said reserved for Ryan Reynolds only. And I said,
Oh,
"What are the odds?" So I parked in his spot. I went in, got my ID, and I came back. And he did. I was like, "Well, if he confronts me about parking in his spot, it'll be a great story." And he didn't. So then I drove off, and that's my story.
oh.
That's it.
That's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. All right, well, let's dive in. What is number 9 on Drew's
All
top
right.
10 list of 2023 movies?
Well, number nine, I selected, and this is one that I actually saw recently. I was very amused by it. It's called "Leave the World Behind," Netflix film that just came out.
Oh, produced by Barack and Michelle Obama, right?
Yeah, that was like okay. I was telling it to someone else, and they were like, "What?" I'm like, "Hey, gotta remind me somehow." I mean, I
Yeah.
never heard of an ex-president doing something like that, but
Which, if any ex president was going to start producing films, I think he's the only one in my lifetime that I would be okay with it. Every
yeah,
other president that's been for my lifetime, I'd be like, don't get anywhere near the film industry, dude. you know?
yeah,
but,
yeah.
um, but with that movie, I've heard mixed reviews, so I would love to hear why you liked it.
Well, it's a very unique thriller. It's essentially it's got a very good cast: Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts,
Nice.
Mahershala, and then
Mahershala
Kevin
Ali is the
Bacon.
man. That's
And
awesome.
Kevin Bacon shows up as like a survivalist,
Oh, okay. That's a good role for
and
him.
like he's always good, but it's like this family like goes to like this beachside town, and then but then the cyber attack happens, and then a couple strangers show up at their door
Oh.
at their vacation home, claiming it's theirs.
Oh,
And
like they kind of Airbnb'd it, and then the people who own it show up and is like, "This is our house."
yeah,
Oh, that's a cool premise. Okay.
but then like weird things happen. Like there was a trailer where it shows like an oil tanker like barreling straight towards the shore.
Oh,
And then, but then, it's just like the more you watch it, like the more you're like, wait, what? So it's got a very Jordan Peele feel to it, and then a little
okay.
bit of M Night. But the thing I really
I
love
was gonna
about
say
it,
that was high praise until you said M Night, which is. Did it have an M? I guess spoiler alert here for the audience. Did it have an M Night ending? In that, was it satisfying or not? Is what I wanted to
well,
ask.
it was a very
Is it an
early,
early M Night ending or a modern M Night ending?
early,
Okay,
where
okay.
it's like, yeah, no, it's no, like that guy. is hit or miss.
Yes.
Lately, he's
When
been
he
miss.
hits, it hits really hard and
No,
in a
no,
good way.
no, no, no. Split is my second favorite movie. It's in my top three of my favorites from him. He did a very good
Nice.
job with it. Like just,
Well,
but
and
yeah, no,
casting like
it's
James
definitely
McAvoy is always a good call if you're gonna
yeah.
make a hit
But
movie.
no, yeah, definitely it's a bit long, but it's I didn't mind it. Like it's just sort of progressively getting very off putting, and the camera work is like it's like an overhead shot, but then it cranes, so your head is like this
This is for Leave
essentially.
the World Behind or for Split?
For leave the world behind. I'm
Okay.
talking. So it's like there's a realization, then like you just see it where it's like you like your head is like askew, like extreme
Okay.
Dutch tilt essentially.
And when those are done right, they really put you in a weird position as the
Yeah,
audience in a cool way.
and it's from the creator of Mr. Robot, directed by the creator of Mr.
Oh,
Robot.
okay.
And it's a very topical, and
Yeah.
of course it'll be a little bit controversial, but
I actually the main review from a creator I follow who does movie reviews, she was saying that she didn't like that the movie danced with political controversy but didn't lean into it. Like it was very just surface level and didn't get into too much political commentary, which that made sense, but also if that would be too on the nose and impact the viewing, I can see your perspective too, where it was more about the character driven realizations as the stakes get higher and higher.
yeah, it's definitely more revolving around just people like wondering
Okay.
what's going on, and like the withholding of information.
Mm.
While they're sleeping, the audience figures out more about what's going on, and then and
Oh,
yeah, it's very smart. It's a very smart idea.
I like that. So, Drew, I don't know if any of our listeners or viewers know this, but you directed an award winning short film. If you were going to direct a movie and the Obamas were producing and financing it, what's the one question you would ask them when you first sign on?
Besides, can you be in it?
Which,
Um,
having seen Barack Obama on Between Two Ferns, I think he would make a good cameo for
yeah.
sure. Yes, absolutely. The way he was dishing it back to Zach Galifianakis was
Yeah,
epic
yeah.
in that.
Although I still love the slap fight he got into with Bradley Cooper.
Was that on Between Two Ferns?
Yeah. Brad has shown up a few times, and one time they just trashed us. They just beat each other up, and it's just
I don't. I'll have to look that up after. I don't remember
it
that scene.
is
That's
it is
funny.
it is hilarious. And now Bradley's got his Maestro movie coming out, which I hear is really good.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of controversy about one aspect of it, but
Yeah,
other as far as the biopic goes, I mean he's a really incredible actor, very versatile.
not yeah. Plus he's directing, so
Oh, and which actually I don't think I've seen anything he's directed, but I've heard good things about.
did A Star Is Born, which
And that was his debut, right? It won a ton of
yeah.
awards. Yeah, it seemed like it was about country music, and I was like, okay, I'm about as interested in that as I am a sports movie. So, but
And
well, let us jump into number 8 on our top 10 of 2023 movies list.
all right, number 8, I gotta go with Equalizer 3.
Okay, very
And
nice.
I'm a big Denzel fan. He's one of the greats out there. And he never struck me as a franchise person.
Well, this is his
So
first, I think, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's his first trilogy of anything he's done. And
And is Antoine Fuqua the director of all three? Or
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
nice.
I mean, they've been good buds since Training Day.
Yeah,
And
I've seen the first one with you, and I enjoyed it very much, but I
yeah,
haven't seen 2 or 3.
yeah. The second one, Pedro Pascal shows up in it as like an old ally of his.
Oh,
And
that's cool. Okay.
yeah, it's all sort of like him dishing out justice, which sort of lends itself to like what people feel all the time even before COVID happened. Just like a little bit of vigilance, like just like one guy doing the right thing, and like he's so skilled he doesn't need a gun to kill you.
That's a classic movie trope, and I feel like few actors can do the old person being a vigilante well.
Yeah,
I feel like Denzel's really done that, and then I think Michael Caine did a movie back when I was in
yeah. Harry
college.
Harry Brown,
Harry
Harry Brown.
Brown,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
there's not
That
too
one.
many. Sometimes the old guy vigilante trope feels silly, but with those two actors, they bring enough gravitas that it works. You know,
Well, I also thought Nobody did a really good job. Where
I still need to
followed.
see that. He's
Oh
not that old though. I feel like
no, but still, like he trained 2 years for it, and
yeah.
and it's him and there's this great bus fight where he just unloads the revolver. He's like, "Fuck you up," and then it cuts to, like Dan Bernhard from Matrix and from John Wick. You know
Oh,
him if you
okay.
saw him. He actually
Yeah.
trained
He was
OSHA.
one of the agents in Reloaded,
Yeah,
right?
one of the agents,
Yeah.
and like and then like they all laugh, and then they just go at it in the bus, and like the same year that Shang Chi came out, this one was much more grounded. Like he got some
Okay.
like snaps.
I do
The
I
whole
do
point.
love that bus fight on Shang-Chi as well. That's epic.
Yeah, yeah, but the bus fight nobody's even great is even better because it's just like it's just
There's just a
it,
layer of dark humor with Bob Odenkirk, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and at one point there's the following line. The- Never would I have thought that this line would be funny. Give me the goddamn kitty cat bracelet, motherfucker. Like he's like, hey.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I need to see
nobody's
that
really good.
movie.
Yeah, nobody's really good. And Christopher Lloyd shows up and almost kills him.
Oh,
I won't tell you why, but you'll see.
okay.
And when you see what he does, just keep in mind that it's him. Like no
Okay.
doubles.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Well,
but Equalizer 3
yes.
came back to it. It's I thought it was good. I actually took my mother to see it. She was like, "It's great, but it's too violent." I'm like, "Well, no." And he's in Italy going up against a local mob.
Okay. Actually, that does pivot into my next question. So, as an action movie, what set it apart from like some other action movies that have come out this year? Like, what made it make the top 10
I think
besides
it's
Denzel's
because
performance?
yeah, I think it's because it's more character driven. Like the whole trilogy is more about like trying to do the right thing.
Okay.
And there's a great scene in the second movie where he's now a Lyft driver,
Oh, that's fun.
and this lady gets dumped in his car by this guy, and then he kind of sees that something may have happened. So he goes up to the apartment just by himself.
You've shown me that scene. I've watched that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and then it's like,
he has
and
has
like
a
he's like,
conversation with the guy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He sorts things out, and
Actually,
then
maybe we watched that whole movie together. I know I've seen the first one with you. Maybe I've seen the second one with you too.
was it? Well, like there's a fight that takes place like on like a watchtower in the Earth. Do you remember?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have seen that. Okay.
Him and Pedro Pascal go at it.
Yes. Okay. So we have
Yeah,
seen
it's
that.
like
That's awesome.
yeah, but this one was a little bit better, and then Dakota Fanning shows up in it,
Oh,
and then she does a great job. Although she scared
nice.
me in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's
Yeah, that didn't even look like her. That was like, what?
I
Yeah.
mean, especially when she's playing like a real person, like someone who like tried to kill Gerald Ford in the '70s.
Yeah. That's wild.
Is she rot for that? Squeaky, not but and then Roy from The Office, David Denman from The Office, Roy.
Oh yeah, he's solid.
It
He's
was
a
fun
great
seeing
actor.
him. Like, "Ooh, good for him."
All
But
right.
yeah,
Well,
well, I thought it was pretty solid. One of the better threequels, but
that's
nowhere near
good.
as great as Return of the King
Yes, that's
or
probably
Spider
the
Man
best.
or Spider. I have a soft spot for Spider Man 3. I was actually talking with someone. Spider Man 3 and X Men: The Last Stand. The thing they have in common, as a whole, they sell, but in pieces, they're actually quite solid.
I would agree with that take. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I feel like they were both part of really revolutionary superhero trilogies that were really paving the way for what we have now with the MCU. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Although although I do miss like I did a blog recently on why Hulk was ahead of its time, Hulk in 2003,
is that the
and
Ang Lee,
yeah, Ang Lee. Like
Eric
I
Bana?
mean,
Okay,
honestly, without that, we wouldn't have like Dark Knight, Watchmen, even like Logan or Joker, or the Bat. Like
because with
just
that one they
comic book.
weren't afraid to make it a little more character driven and a little
Yeah,
less
and
action
bit
heavy.
more grounded, even
Yeah.
despite the elements. And I always love watching like the old Hulk show, which was actually the first decent Marvel property.
Yep.
And it was also kind of very grounded, very subtle, like with Spider-Man, like all over the place. Meanwhile, Hulk, despite it was very grounded and like just took itself seriously, even when they had him had them ingest acid or or fought another version of himself. It's like
Yeah.
still it was.
Well,
I miss those days when they weren't afraid to be out there.
Yeah, and we could do a segue after that we finish the list of talking about where the MCU's headed because I'd love to pick your brain on that. But
Oh yeah.
because I have thoughts on the recent couple movies. But before I go down that rabbit hole, let's jump into number six
Number
of
six.
the top 10 list of 2023.
Oh, you mean seven? Or,
Wait, so we had? Oh no, yeah, you're right, seven.
yeah,
I misguided.
yeah.
Yes,
I should be co-hosting.
yes.
I gotta go with the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Really?
It
Okay.
might be one of the better video game adaptations because of how faithful it is. Like how instead of like from the '90s, they had like Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as both father and son and brothers.
Well,
I
so I
really
haven't seen the '90s movie, but I've seen stills of it, and haven't. I never really played the Mario games that much growing up.
there is no connection.
Yeah, seeing the stills, I was like, who? Like, what drugs did you take? And then connect the dots on this. Like, what? Like, seemed like a
I
very
don't know
weird
what that
call.
was.
Every decision in that movie seems like a weird call from what I've seen of it.
Yeah, but but this time it just felt like they had played the game and Chris Pratt as Mario. Like
Which that was very polarizing. So I'm curious, did that? I haven't seen the movie,
it
but
actually
it worked.
worked. It
Okay.
was fine. They had him do the voice once, and then he just made a comment about it. And then they had the guy who actually does the voice show up,
Oh, that's a
and
cool
then he
connection.
actually does
Okay.
like the wahoo. It's a me. Yeah, they so like he did do that the whole time.
Okay.
But
Because the rest of the voice cast was stellar. I mean, you got Jack
oh yeah,
Black, Keegan Michael Key,
yeah,
Charlie
yeah, no,
Day, Anya Taylor
Charlie, Charlie,
Joy.
yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, Anya Taylor Joy is going to be in Furious.
I saw that, and Chris Hemsworth. That looks pretty fun. So
That is going to be good.
yeah, I'm excited
It's like if
because
George
Fury
Miller
Road
wasn't
was
right.
my favorite of that
Yeah,
franchise for
If
sure.
George Miller were directing it, would have worked. Like it would. I mean, it's got the same aesthetic. It's been 10 years since the last one.
Has it been 10 years since Fury Road?
Almost 10 years.
Well, now I feel ancient. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna sit here and wither up while we jump into the next movie on the list.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Next. Let's see. I think number six we got Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Okay, well, we're jumping ahead into my MCU critique. I did not like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, so I'm curious what you liked about it. I mean, I think
Well,
Bradley Cooper's performance was incredible, but I thought the writing and the tone were just not what I was. I mean, I don't go into a movie wanting exactly what I'm expecting, but it wasn't what I wanted from the film ultimately.
yeah. I mean, I think I hear what you're saying, but I do like the shift in tone. How it's a bit, how it's sort of a bit has some. It's kind of like Deadpool 2 in that it's still funny, but it also has some like dark moments mixed in.
And then I guess that was my criticism of the movie in that I felt like for being the kind of end of that trilogy, ramping up the stakes and how dark and dramatic it is a good thing. But I just felt like it lost a lot of the fun that the first two had. And again, if you're changing the levels on that, that's okay. But it felt like it was almost gone, in my opinion. Um, and I guess spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie. Here's the one thing that I would have changed. That I think would have improved the movie a lot.
Right?
Um, I when they had that scene where because I thought the scenes of like the animal violence they were very upsetting to me, but I wanted there to be more catharsis from such dark buildup. And
Okay.
so there's that scene, where Rocket's been wounded and he's like dying, and he
Yeah, yeah.
has
He goes up briefly.
well, yeah, he sees his friends who have
Yeah.
died, and they did that really cheesy movie thing where they're like, "Of course you can come with us, but not right now." And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Boo!"
yeah.
But if they had been like, if it had been reversed, where they were like, "Hey, come be with us," and he's like, "No, my friends need me," and they're like, his dead friends were like, "They'll be okay," and you just see Rocket walk away, and then he dies. That would have been, I mean, it would have been
Okay.
devastating, but perfect because then the rest of the movie is them getting revenge on the High Evolutionary. And then if at the end they're like, Rocket would have wanted us to spare him and take him in and build Nowhere up, and then they all kind of go their separate ways because they've lost Rocket, it would have hurt more and been even more devastating, but it would have been more impactful. it's kind of my same criticism of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, where I think if at the end of that movie Finn had sacrificed himself, even though I love John Boyega's performance and I love that character, if he
He
had
wasn't
died,
written right. He
it
wasn't.
wasn't.
They
No,
fully wasted him.
they
Like
undercut him so bad,
it's
and
it's. I mean, he's a
he's a
great actor.
phenomenal actor.
No,
And
he's
that character was really cool too. We hadn't really seen that in Star Wars, where
like
you
a
have a ground
stormtrooper, like
level
a defective
stormtrooper who just
stormtrooper. Yeah, like I
yes,
mean, give me a movie about that. Like I would have been fine with it. And then there's like My Name is
absolutely.
Ray Skywalker.
Yes. Which I think that Daisy Ridley's performance, some people have criticized it. I thought her performance was fine. It's the writing in those movies, and I really,
It's
oh, go ahead. Yes.
Twilight. Kristen Stewart and Rob Pattinson, they can act, but when the script sucks, they're gonna suck.
Yes.
I mean, he's Batman now.
Yes. He's a very, very talented actor, and she's been in some really good stuff too.
I don't
But
know. But it's and even Taylor Lautner is okay.
yeah.
But
Well,
when you give
did you
someone a
hear recently for the press tour for Ferrari, Adam Driver was spilling some tea on Star Wars about how they went over Kylo Ren's arc and it was the opposite of what we got. They're like, he gets darker and darker, and by the end, he's the ultimate bad guy, and then they kill him. And that was not what we got. And so that
that would be
really,
fine.
well, it really illustrated for me, though, what I'd suspected for a long time, which is that when Disney bought Star Wars,
Oh
Lucasfilm
no.
in 2012,
Yeah.
they gave Lucasfilm, that company, free reign to be like, you can make your spinoffs, and they gave us quality stuff like Solo and Rogue One, my favorite of the new Star Wars things besides Andor. But then for their flagship project for the new trilogy, they got a bunch of people in and overthought it, micromanaged it, and then kept
Yeah.
changing as they went. They did not have a cohesive arc, which is why, like episode 7, I thought J.J. Abrams, I didn't like that the plot was such a safe
Yeah.
carbon
No.
copy of episode 4,
But
but the
but but
characters were
it
good.
felt like a good Star Wars film for the first time in 10 years.
It did, and but I loved the characters it set up, and I was like, great, we've made a new Star Wars movie. You
Okay,
played
yeah,
it
yeah.
safe. You gave us
So,
a New
so
Hope remastered. Cool. Let's do something different with these characters. And then 8 and 9 were just not good in my opinion, because eight, I did not. Eight's the one Star Wars movie I just didn't enjoy at all. And
I
then
mean,
not nine had some
like
really
it
cool
makes Attack of
moments.
the Clones look good. It makes Attack of the Clones look good.
Yeah, well,
Like,
and
I mean,
episode 9 I enjoyed, but it just, it went back to what 7 wanted, but it never got there because it was halfway where 8 was. It was just a messy trilogy, and
yeah.
Adam Driver's comments prove that. But how did
I
we
mean,
get
I
to
would have
Star
loved
Wars
to
from
have
here?
seen that where like his ambition. What I got in episode 7 was that his anger was that he couldn't match up to his grandfather,
Yeah,
and then that sort of could fuel like the cycle of rage and self destruction.
yeah. Well,
I
and
mean,
that's what Adam Driver said. He said that J.J. Abrams sat him down and said, "Hey, Anakin Skywalker was the most devoted, committed, good guy, and then he fell hard, but then he became weak and vulnerable, and ultimately flipped at the end." He's like, with Kylo Ren, I want him to be weak and vulnerable at the beginning, and then lean more and more
yeah,
into the
yeah,
dark side.
and then all the power goes to his head, and then maybe
Exactly.
he's like like it's a good sort of cautionary tale about greed and ambition, kind of like
No.
Scarface.
When
But
I actually saw an interview. I think it was with J.J. Abrams, where he said he kind of based the initial drafts of that screenplay off of um that movie, Let's We Need to Talk About Kevin.
oh yeah,
And so
yeah,
he
yeah,
kind of based it on, he said, like, I wanted Han and Leia to go through, what if my kid was a school shooter type person, essentially. And I was like, okay, that's very dark, like, let's explore that psychology. And then with 8 and 9 they just didn't. So anyway,
yeah, and
how
then
did we get to
and then
how did we get to the sequel trilogy of Star Wars? We were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, suffice to say, kind of like the Hobbit trilogy, the sequel trilogy started off promising and then just ended poorly.
Yeah, which
But
that's
and
another
plus with the
franchise I have
Hobbit,
thoughts on.
plus with the Battle of the Five Armies, it was like essentially the Anchorman anchor fight, but like like
Well
with
said.
50 times the budget.
Yes.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm
Here's
wrong.
$800 million to have all the cameos no one wanted. Thank you. Great, love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is an
Um,
excellent comparison. I love that. Well,
Now that
so, oh
we're
yes,
kind of halfway through the list, I wanted to give some honorable mentions, if that's
let's do
possible.
that. But first, a
So,
message from our sponsors. those are all currently in my head. So if anyone wants to sponsor Nerds and Friends, please reach out. Anyway, yes, let's hear your
Uh,
honorable mentions. I'm excited for this.
yeah. So one of them would be the Killer from David Fincher.
Who's in that? I don't. I haven't heard
Michael
of this.
Fassbender as
Oh,
the
okay.
Killer, and
He's always great.
yeah, no, it's his first role in like 4 years, and it was very
You-
unconventional and
You're
very
forgetting his role in Taika Waititi's new soccer drama that I'm
oh
not going to
yeah,
see, even though I love Taika Waititi.
and I saw a little bit of it. It looks okay, but
I can't get into a movie about sports. I just lose interest
yeah.
immediately.
But yeah, it's very unsettling and gloomy, like most of Fincher's work. And there's a pretty fun house fight between him and
uh,
Solid Baker, who played Sauron in First Lord of the Rings. It was physically
oh,
Sauron. And it was
okay.
also older Fire Fist in Deadpool too. Like he's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, they have a pretty brutal house fight that's very realistic, like very realistically choreographed.
Did
And
the
then
movie end with a close up of Michael Fassbender saying, "Here's where you can sign a petition to make David Fincher finish Mindhunter season 3"? No, I'm just
no, he did. But then another one is one that I was kind of let down by was the Flash.
oh yeah, very controversial movie as well. I didn't see it. What are your thoughts on the movie? I
Too
mean,
much CGI.
when they said Nicolas Cage playing Superman, I was like, I love that. But then it sounds like the way they did it even wasn't good, even with a great cameo like that.
AI.
Wait, I was he not on set for the cameo? Did he not
No,
get
he
in costume?
was. They filmed it with him in the suit, but it was like I can't describe. There are three words I can use to describe: Polar Express Superman.
Why? Who would think that's a good idea?
I don't know. It was fine, but it just felt like they were trying too hard. And Michael Keaton back as Batman was fun, but it
But
was like,
I heard that
oh yeah, oh yeah, there stopped being crime in Gotham.
you're like that's Gotham, man. Well, didn't wasn't Christopher Reeves in a brief cameo through AI recreation?
Yeah, and then George Reeves, which was controversial because he kind of killed himself because there was no work.
Oh,
Allegedly, like no one really knows what happened. But and then they brought
that's
back.
and did they have like consent from the families to use their
I don't
likeness or
know. I mean, that's what kind of
dicey?
fueled the. That's what kind of fueled the actors strike. Like consent.
Yeah, which I totally support because like I think really the first time it was done in earnest was in Rogue One, which is a Star Wars movie I love.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
that was
but
okay.
in that instance, for I mean the two AI characters was or AI enhanced, where they had an actor on set with digital
Yeah,
face
yeah, they had,
recognition.
yeah,
I mean it was Princess Leia, which Carrie Fisher was alive when they made that,
yeah,
and she endorsed it, and then it was Grand Moff Tarkin and Peter Cushing.
yeah,
I don't think he had any living descendants, but like his estate said he would have wanted this, which okay,
yeah.
um,
And they found someone who looked like him, and they just had.
yeah, yeah, but
I don't know.
I can see how that's if we're going
Uncanny
forward.
Valley.
Right. Well, and in those two instances with it where it's Star Wars and it's something that the actors either at the time were cool with or it seems like they would have been okay with, I'm more open to it. But if it's starting to become more accessible and kind of the norm, that's not okay. Like
Yeah,
I heard
yeah.
there was an indie
It
movie
shouldn't
that
be a frequent default.
yeah,
It should be like in some occasions when.
right. Well,
I
because
mean,
it doesn't look good a lot of the times, and even if it did, though, there's ethical concerns in real life of taking work from living actors, um, putting characters in situations without the actor's approval and consent.
yeah,
So there's a lot of real life
using
stuff. But
using likeness for yeah, yeah.
what? Because I heard that I don't know if it's been halted because of the strikes, but there was a movie in production, an indie movie, and just as a kind of way to make it anyone care about it, it was going to be starring James Dean through AI. Every other actor in the movie was a real actor, but then James Dean is the star of it, and I haven't heard any updates on that. But everyone who heard that was like,
That
"Ew,
sounds
no."
stupid.
Yeah, and it's like an original screenplay, but with James Dean as the main character. No, terrible. Yeah, so yeah, people were like, "Don't do that, please." So, if anyone in the comments wants to tell us what movie that is, because I read about it like a year ago, and if they have updates on the production, I'd be curious. But um, well, do you have any other honorable mentions for 2023 before we jump back to the list?
Also, I have to mention the Marvels. I thought it was okay.
Okay.
I think the reason I thought it was okay was that it was short enough that it didn't go too long.
Yeah.
But the final scenes are worth staying for.
Ah, I love the three main characters and the chemistry they had was excellent. And I just wish it had like it felt like a first draft of a script. I was like, could we polish that more? Could we have like a little more
Yeah,
stakes, a little more
yeah,
cohesion? And it didn't line up with Secret Invasion at all, which was also a very stilted series that had potential and didn't deliver. So
yeah.
that's kind of part of my growing MCU concern because I thought,
Yeah, I mean that's why the only MCU film, if you will, coming out next year is Wolverine and Deadpool, which I think will be
is that
quite.
the only one for 2024?
Yeah, mostly because of the strikes.
Wow.
Because I think they pushed Brave New World back to 25.
Okay, but they're like filming that, and then is
Yeah,
Thunderbolts
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
just after that?
yeah. I mean, with Wolverine and Deadpool, they were halfway done when the strikes happened. So
Right. Okay. So it because I think really the only MCU thing I've liked this year was season 2 of Loki, which even then
oh
it
yeah,
had kind of a rough start, but then the ending was
I
perfect.
did I did kind of like how it like how there was him like going back and forth in time and then that forward and like like I did like that where it's
Yeah,
like that way and then like the whole thing is like them trying to stop the loom and then it was like oh
yeah,
wait we don't need the loom
yeah. No,
and then
the
like
ending
that
was
was
perfect, but it I felt like overall as a season it wasn't good as season 1 of Loki, but the ending was perfect, like a great send off for that character, like a full circle arc. So I
he
loved it.
might come back though.
I know, and I hope he does because I love that character. But
Nah, he no Hiddleston did a he ad libbed his last line like for all time always. Like, that was an ad lib.
that's awesome.
And it echoed a line for Thor where it
Yeah,
was like
for or no, for all of us. I'm doing it for you,
for
for
all
all of
for you,
us.
for
Yeah,
all of us. But like now in a more positive context, now he's like now he's really like the most powerful person in the universe.
yeah. No,
But yeah,
that's why I
I
thought it was a
thought
beautiful full circle moment. You know,
yeah, and then like that final shot where he's like, he's determined, but he misses everyone.
that was well done. That's the best Marvel thing this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
All right.
well, we're on number 5 now. Yes,
Yep. I've John Wick Chapter 4. I gotta say,
I. First off, I need to see number 3. I still haven't yet. I love the
pretty
first
good.
two, but I also know that if I go see it, I'm gonna be like this because of Lance Reddick, and that's sad. And then
Yeah.
we lost Matthew Perry and Andre Brower this year. It's been a tough year in celebrity losses, you know,
Yeah.
or really not just celebrities, but like talented performers. Sorry, my camera keeps losing focus. I don't know
Oh yeah,
why.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say like,
Yeah,
hey,
I was playing with it earlier. I have to like get it to refocus on me. I don't
okay.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was. I loved it. I
Yeah,
loved more, and I did kind of like the idea of him having to go up against a high table and
yeah.
Bill Skarsgård. Just I hate him as soon as he came on screen. It was like I hope he dies slowly.
one
But
of one
but
of
then
the
like
25 acting children of Stellan Skarsgård. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
And then his brother showed up in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, yeah. Which I when I was watching Oppenheimer, I was like, I've seen that guy, and it turns
No,
out
I
he's from
know you.
Westworld.
Yeah, no. One of my
But it,
coworkers was like, wait, he's playing shit. Wait, oh yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, with John Wick, I think my favorite scene in it might have to be when Sky Atkins shows up in the fat suit as a
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah.
he's in it, and they have a good fight that calls back to the work of Sammo Hung, who was a
Okay.
bit of a heavier guy, but still was very athletically gifted, and also was a very good martial arts choreographer for like Yip Man series, like very
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man's awesome.
yeah, and also he had a duel with Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well, I think you showed me an interview with Scott Adkins talking about how he really had to adjust his fighting style and physicality
yeah,
to physically fight act as someone who is heavy set like that. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
but still it was kind of fun. Like he's
I
kind of
figured they put humor into it and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he was definitely like the funniest character in the whole series. Like he's having the most fun. It's like, oh,
Okay.
yeah. It's just like plus he has asthma, so he's just
Oh, that's
it's
funny.
always
Okay.
but yeah, it's I thought it was very good send off, but we might get one more. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, I haven't seen it, but I read kind of a semi spoiler about the ending being a little nebulous on the
Yeah,
titular character's fate. You know,
we might see him come back. He'll
have you seen
he's
the
not
show? I've heard overall negative reviews, and that a few people I know really like it.
I'll check it out. I mean, Mel
Yeah.
Gibson's in it, so that
Eh,
might drive some people away. But
definitely drives me away. But okay. Well, John Wick. I mean, based on the first two movies, I do need to see it eventually because that
yeah,
makes
yeah, the
sense.
third and
That's
fourth, like each movie just gets better. Like they ramp up.
yeah.
Like there's a very well done Hiroyuki Sanada from the Last Samurai and
Oh,
Endgame shows up in it as like a
and Lost and
yeah, and
Westworld.
Lost, yeah. And there's a great scene set in Osaka where he just and then but then Donnie Yen was the best part of that movie. He's like another blind man like in Rogue One, but
Oh, really? Okay.
definitely like a lot of I mean, God love this man. Like the last few years haven't been kind to him because if he was in Mulan, he was completely wasted.
Wait, because what happened to Donnie Yen?
Donnie Yen was in Mulan, and he was just not great. They
Oh,
just
really?
didn't give him a lot to do. Like that movie sucked anyway. But
Well, based on the movies I've seen him in, if there, I haven't seen the new Mulan movie, but if he gave a weak performance, I would say that I would guess it was the directors and writers, and
yeah,
not
yeah,
him
like
as
not
an
knowing what to
actor.
do with him. Like that was
Yeah.
the thing with he shows like his first real American film was Blade 2, and he
Oh,
did
is he in that?
fine.
I didn't know he's
Yeah,
in
he
that.
was in it for like a little bit, but then he gets killed off like halfway through. So it's just like, but like still, it was kind of fun to see him just like, do some of the signature
Well,
moves. And
as I'm sure you know, as a student of film and a director, like uh, in the editing room and then with poor directing and poor writing, you can take a great, very talented actor and they can give a bad performance, and
yeah,
it's not really on them, So
yeah, yeah, it's,
a la Robert Pattinson and Kirsten Stewart in Twilight, same thing.
there.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right, let's dive into number four. I'm getting excited.
Number four, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
I need to see that too. I've been behind this year.
Yeah, it
um,
was.
Now in the
Yeah,
second one, is he really going to space? That's what I've heard.
no, 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 no.
No,
All
okay.
he's doing is hanging from a biplane. That's all.
That's all. Yeah, no,
That's
yeah. Tom Cruise is. I mean,
I know. In this one,
regardless
he
of how
like
you
jumped.
feel about the stories, like the stunt work and the ones
Yeah,
leading up to this
like
have
they
been
had, yeah,
incredible.
the commitment. I mean, like
Yes, yes.
because there's part two was initially coming out next year, but due to the strikes, he pushed it back a year.
Yeah.
Which
Well, it's
knowing him,
mostly filmed though, right?
yeah, but
Okay,
then he wants to make sure it's right. So
which I respect. That's good.
essentially, it'll be a 5 hour movie, which it was fine. I mean, it's definitely the longest of the franchise, but it's far from boring. Like it's
Dead
definitely
Reckoning. How long was it? What was the runtime?
2 hours 40 minutes.
Okay.
But it's still like the villain of the movie is it's called the entity, like it's AI essentially,
Okay. But
and
is it like one of the agents of the AI? Isn't it Isai Morales from Ozark?
yeah, yeah,
Kind
and
of, or
yes,
you know.
he also has fun in the movie.
I met him once. He was very nice because he was in a prequel show to Battlestar Galactica called Caprica, which was
Oh, okay,
his performance was really good in it. The show was weird, but
yeah,
no, I met him at my first Comic Con. Actually, he was super nice. So yeah,
nice.
great voice. I love his character in
Yeah,
Ozark is
yeah.
so good.
He's also he's also like the main human villain, and like just like
Okay,
very like he knows like Ethan Hunt very well. Just like he's
and
always one
I
step
think
ahead.
he was that actor was the president of SAG-AFTRA for a while in real
Oh,
life.
really nice.
I think so.
Good for
Yeah,
him. And there's also a scene of Tom running because there always is, and
of course. Yeah, that.
I was just smiling the whole time because I'm like, that's what I expect. Thank you. It was definitely funnier. Like that should bring in Haley Atwell, and she's sort of like a thief that becomes an ally of theirs.
Okay.
Now she's handcuffed to Mr. Cruz like during a car chase, and they're like go driving around Rome. It's tearing up.
Oh, that's cool.
It's very very good, ambitious series.
Well, I mean, ever since they kind of brought it back for Ghost Protocol, it's just gotten
Yeah,
better
yeah,
and
yeah.
better with every
Go
movie.
from
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol on. Definitely, there's been like a real commitment. The first
Yeah,
three
just every
were
episode steps it up. I mean, the first three I saw a while back, and like the first one was interesting,
the
and
second
then
one
two and
was
yeah, then three was the J.J. Abrams one, right?
yeah, three was like
It was cool.
was promising.
Yeah.
It did have the best villain of the whole series.
It was
Philip Seymour Philip
yeah,
Seymour
yeah,
Hoffman, who
yeah.
like this was a year after he won an Oscar for Capote. He was just like very like cold and soulless. Just like I miss like of
Yeah,
all the
great
actors we've
actor.
lost over the years, his loss hurts the most. Like
Yeah, imagine him aging into like really nuanced, like older roles. That could have been really powerful.
He could have he but still, like, he left us with a good debt.
Well, let's so that was
Number
Dead
4.
Reckoning was number 4. Okay,
Yeah,
we're in
number
the top
3.
3 now. We're in the top
Yep,
3. I'm excited.
top 3. Across the Spider Verse.
Great film. I I am someone who has trouble getting into animated stuff.
I mean,
Only
this might
very
be it's the longest animated film I've ever seen. It's like almost 2.5 hours. Like, but still, like, it
yeah.
didn't feel boring. It just felt like,
No, and I mean some of the shots and just the artwork was so powerful. Like it,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
they.
We actually just a shameless self promotion. We have a
Mhm.
whole Nerds and Friends podcast saga where we analyze the first movie and then we go see the second movie and talk about it right after.
Oh,
Check
nice.
out that episode up here on the screen. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed those movies and I can't wait for the third one. So
Yeah, everyone though was praising Haley Steinfeld as Spider Gwen. Like, honestly, it's like
yeah,
she's the best part of both those movies.
yeah, no, her
Now
portrayal is really good.
everyone
And
wants her to come back to a live action role. Like, everyone's just like, come on, we want you to come back.
well, she's already Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, which I not her performance was fine. I didn't like the way they wrote the character in Hawkeye, but that's just
Yeah, but she definitely seemed to be a bit better. Do you mind if I? Well, she does show up in the Marvels at the end.
yeah. No, we can. Yeah,
Yeah,
this. Well, I'll put a spoiler alert tag on this video,
spoiler
but
alert, like, she does show
yeah,
up at the end of the Marvels to tease the Young Avengers, and she did fine there. Like, she was a bit better written there.
yeah. I mean,
But
she only had like 2 lines of dialogue, but
yeah, but
she
no,
acted
so
the same as her character would in the show, which I like the continuity. But
yeah, but I
yeah,
mean,
I'm
I am
looking
looking.
forward to Echo. Even though
Yeah,
I didn't love Hawkeye, the show, the Echo show looks really good. So,
no, it definitely is going back to the Marvel Netflix format of, like, just grittiness, and I was just
which
like,
I like.
okay. I mean,
Yeah,
it'll be enough to satiate us before Daredevil Born Again.
which let's hope it's good. I'm hearing a lot of behind the
Well,
scenes
all right,
drama with.
I will say this: they fired the writers because they were going to make it a simple lawyer show, and he wasn't even going to put the costume on until episode 4.
Terrible.
So they fired those people, and now they're going back to the old Tom. So
I don't know. It's gonna be weird if they kind of retcon the Netflix shows because those were really
now
high quality.
they should start with Bullseye. Just really,
That'd be
that.
cool.
They did good with Bullseye in
Yeah,
season 2. They really built him up very well.
yeah.
But they did recast Vanessa Fisk, which I'm okay with. But
Oh, I like what's her name from the Dan
Mansfield,
Brown movie? No,
yeah.
Inferno
Oh,
with
yeah,
her and
yeah,
Tom
yeah, yeah,
Hanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was fine, but they got you saw at the end of Better Call Saul, right? The last season.
No, I haven't.
Okay, but she shows up. She plays this actress plays Howard Hanlon's wife.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the last seasons of Better Call Saul were very
I watched the first, I think, 2 seasons of Better Call Saul, and they were pretty good. I need to
yeah,
go back
yeah.
and watch the whole thing.
Each season gets better essentially.
Nice.
All right, top two,
Oh man,
top two. All right,
I'm making a guess that Oppenheimer is going to be one of these two.
yeah. If I say what happens, it won't happen.
Okay. All right. Let's hear number two. Let's hear it.
Number two, Killers of a Flower Moon.
Okay. I saw that in theaters.
I was infuriated at the end because I did not know about this at all,
Yeah.
and it's just something. It's a story that everyone needs to know. It's a good cautionary tale about. I mean, it's essentially, I had no idea that there were so many tribe members who wound up gone. It
Yeah.
could be in the hundreds, but I just felt pissed off by it. I mean, it was very well made. Yeah, it's long, but
Yeah, and
it
actually,
felt.
I've been critical of Scorsese's length in the past, and this is like one of the first films where probably the least amount I would have cut out relative to other
Yeah,
Scorsese
yeah,
films.
I would have done it more or less the same way.
Yeah,
And then he has, like, Donald
mine.
Schumacher, the best editor ever.
Yeah,
So,
no, my main thought on it was I really liked that it didn't shy away from showing how evil some of the bad characters were.
yeah,
I like that, like especially like Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, who sometimes big actors want to kind of protect their brand and like won't play villains. No, these
yeah.
guys leaned into just being
De Niro never struck me like that. He
Yeah, that's true. But I with DiCaprio too, like he just really leaned into being the biggest piece of shit that he could be.
yeah,
And then I also like that they made time to really fixate on I think, and this is just kind of an indictment of the American public school system, but when we hear about a lot of these horrific, violent, racist atrocities,
they
they feel like they're in
sugarcoat.
the distant past. Not even sugarcoat, but they feel like distant past. Whereas I like in this film, they're like, hey, some of this is less than 100 years ago, and it's like, oh fuck, like
Yeah.
that's
Yep,
really
yeah,
yeah.
it happened like 100 years ago. I was like, I didn't even know about this. And it's just like,
Yeah, so I like that they showed that it's modern and that this this specific problem is a thing of the past, but the same undercurrents of racism and oppression and
yeah,
greed are still a problem. So I liked that. My only big criticism of the movie is that, um, and for not right now, I'm drawing a blank on the Lily Gladstone.
yeah,
Her
no, I
performance
thought she
was
was fine.
well, every actor in the movie did incredible. No, my criticism is that Lily Gladstone's character didn't get as much screen time as she deserved, in my opinion. I thought the focus should have
Yeah,
been on her, whereas the focus was absolutely on Leo's character and his
right.
relationship with Robert De Niro. And I'm okay with the movie fixating on the antagonist, but for this movie, it
Yeah, just to
felt
see, like, I mean, like the scenes where he showed the effect that like losing her family gradually, like that was like powerful, and
yeah.
that's stuff that happened.
Yeah, and I
And
think the biggest like microcosm of my issue with the whole film is like the scene where, again, spoiler alert, their kid dies from like fever or sickness,
yeah, yeah,
and we
right,
see Lily Gladstone react, and it's this really visceral 30, maybe 60 seconds of her with the body. And then it cuts to Leo in prison learning about it. And we spend like 5 minutes on him reacting. And I was like, that feels disrespectful to the actual person. So
yeah, yeah.
I,
Maybe like spend like a couple more minutes on her, just like being like, and then like you see him, and then you just see him like punching a wall for a second, and then like
yeah,
go to
which
the next.
again, no, I mean, like Leo's, his emotions and acting in that scene were so raw and powerful.
Yeah,
Uh, Everyone who had a main role in that movie deserves an award, but I
yeah,
just think the focus should have been on her character because that's where all of the trauma and then also the standing up and like resisting evil was from. So as an audience member, I was gravitating towards her and it was upsetting that the focus wasn't on her. So
yeah,
that's how I felt about it. But
yeah.
I,
I
I
mean,
still
I
think
mean,
overall, very important movie, and I'm glad it
yeah,
exists. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
would have liked
Very,
if someone from the Osage community had directed it. If Scorsese had stepped back and like produced it and consulted and brought his expertise in cinema to it. But I just felt like the focus was a little bit off, but still excellent movie for sure.
yeah, very, very well done. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
let me find something to make a drum roll. Let's hear number one.
Oppenheimer.
Excellent movie.
I have nothing bad to say about this. If I were, in fact, we're actually, for those who don't know, I work at a movie theater over here in Costa Mesa, California, and I've been here for the last couple years. And we just started showing Oppenheimer again, and
Nice.
I gotta say, if I were to direct it, I would do it the same way. Like it's not a second too long.
And
Ultimately, it's
I was, I mean, when I think of powerful, nuanced biopics, the first name that comes to mind is not Christopher Nolan, but now it is because that was
yeah,
for a biopic like that, which had a lot of layers. Because one thing I did before the movie was that I researched J. Robert Oppenheimer
yeah,
and the history and all the different variables. So
yeah,
like I got pretty educated on it going into the movie and the way that they brought in every relevant element, but I mean, like the writing and the distribution of screen time was expertly done, and then the
yeah, yeah,
performances were amazing. Just
yeah.
every creative decision
I
was
mean, like
clutch.
even Josh Hartnett, which who I thought was
Yeah,
okay, like he showed that he can do it, and
yeah.
it was a fun circular thing for him because he auditioned to be Batman in Batman Begins, but
Oh, okay. I didn't know
didn't
that.
go through. But then he just shows
I
that,
think Christian Bale was a better choice.
yeah, yeah. But I
That's a
mean,
non-controversial opinion.
yeah. And but I overall I did appreciate, like I didn't know much about Oppenheimer, and like sort of like I was all interested in sort of the legal ramifications of,
Yeah,
but I do like the time it spent on, you created the ultimate killing machine, but you don't want it to be used, so why create it? Like I thought expertly edited. I mean, like I saw it with my father, and he was like, "Who wrote it?" Christopher Nolan. He was like, "Wow, pretty good."
Yeah,
but yeah, Nolan is a very a terrific director, but also a really good writer. Like he always, I
yeah,
mean, he co-wrote the entire Dark Knight trilogy. So,
yeah. No,
but yeah, I
um,
always thought he was quite good. And this one, I
we
mean,
also
it's
have a
definitely,
podcast about the Dark Knight trilogy that I'll shamelessly plug. But no, I've been a big Nolan fan ever since I saw Memento.
yeah, yeah.
And
He's incapable of making bad movies. He just can't.
well, it's funny because my favorite Nolan movie is The Prestige, which is one of his few films that's an adaptation of a novel. And I don't know how similar. I've never read the source novel, but um, Oppenheimer is technically an adaptation as well because it was
Yes.
based on like a
Yeah, yeah. I think
nonfiction book.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
American Prometheus. The book was called.
Yes. And so it's interesting that because I think adaptation is an artwork of its own because you're taking something and adapting it. It's different than just an original screenplay. And
Right.
on the two times Nolan's done that with, I guess you could consider the Dark Knight an adaptation as well.
I mean, even Memento is an adapted work because I mean, his
Well, it's a short
brother.
story written by
Yeah,
his
yeah,
brother. Yeah.
his brother wrote this. His brother wrote the short story, which I've read. It's actually pretty good.
Which shout out to Caleb Whittle, who's one of our recurring guests on Nerds and Friends. He got to work with Jonathan Nolan recently on the Fallout show, so we're going to have him on in the near future to talk about that and his new
Nice.
YouTube channel. So looking forward to that conversation, Caleb. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, Oppenheimer was excellent. I need to see it again. So you've seen it twice now. It sounds like since your theater's showing it again.
I haven't seen it, but I sort of see bits and pieces of it, and I always
Yeah.
stick around for a little bit, depending on how busy it gets. But still, even the ending it's still. I
Oh, it's
mean,
haunting. It's haunting.
it's
Yeah, it's great.
possibly my favorite ending of the year, and then for any movie because it's just like I mean, they got the right guy to play Einstein. I've never really seen Einstein
Yeah,
on screen, but it's just. I mean, you got the accent, like it's just, and even like Gary Oldman as Harry S. Truman was pretty
that
fun.
was surprising. I think most people
And
didn't recognize that even.
yeah, but I mean, it's like, but he's just so good at that. But I mean, as he's leaving the line, don't let that crybaby in here again. That really happened. Like
Yeah.
Truman was like
Well,
was always
I read somewhere that the scenes that are in black and white are, or so the scenes in color are pieced together from accounts by Oppenheimer and other people who were involved. The
right.
scenes in black and white were recorded. They have
So like
audio
like
recordings.
line for line transcript.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So like all the
Yeah,
legal
yeah. I
stuff with
mean,
Robert Downey Jr.'s character,
uh,
those were all because
he
they had a
stole the
surveillance tap in the office. So every scene that was
Robert.
black and white was based on
Wow.
actual transcript. Yeah.
Like Robert Downey Jr. First of all, he needs an Oscar yesterday. He
Yeah.
is
He's done
he
some
is
really
good.
good acting. Yeah.
But for this one, like he thought that playing Iron Man for 10 years would dampen his ability, but this no, like he was very scary. Like just how he wanted to like crucify over an insult, essentially.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of similarities between Oppenheimer and JFK from Oliver Stone
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Yeah.
because
Like
like they're
not
both.
only not only the events in the story, but also the cinematography and the
No,
filming.
I mean not so much the events, but how they unfold in like similar cinematography. How there's like some things in black and white, some in color. But I
Well,
mean,
yeah, and you could make the argument though that they were both people in a historical context who it seems like tried to do the right thing, but ultimately kind of made more problems in the world in very different
yeah,
ways. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, with Oppenheimer, just like the final image of like flames engulfing the world is just
Oh, and the final line, I think we already
yeah.
have. It was like,
What we
yeah,
have, it's just like and yeah, that one was just it's movies are supposed to impact you long after you see it, and I'm still
yes,
feeling it.
that's awesome.
Although if you get a chance, someone put up like if Oppenheimer came out in 2007 and had What I've Done by Linkin Park, like cameras,
Oh, that's
and I
funny.
gotta say,
That's funny.
it actually worked even better. Like it's like
That's
too well. Like
oh, that's funny.
and then like cuts them.
Oh, that's great. Great song.
No, it was, but yeah, Oppenheimer possibly the best movie of the year, and the whole Barbenheimer thing was kind of fun.
Oh yeah. Well,
And,
and we'll dive in. Have you seen Barbie?
no, I have not, but I've
You
seen
should.
bits of it. It looks interesting.
So I guess I'll dive in right now because I did another episode on Nerds and Friends talking about this. I think Barbie is the best movie of the year that I've seen, and it's better than Oppenheimer by a little bit, and I will tell you why. So my thought process is that I enjoyed both movies immensely. I enjoyed them in very different ways, but the reason that I would have to give the number one badge of honor to Barbie is that with Oppenheimer, as we just discussed, Christopher Nolan took a very nuanced, complicated, but nonetheless interesting character in history and a time in history and told an incredibly well done biopic about it.
Yes.
And what I think Barbie did was even more difficult is that they had a toy line and all of these big nebulous peripheral discussions about femininity and gender roles and
In
all kinds
reality,
of things. Yeah, just all kinds of things. And they condensed that into a concise, nuanced, extremely well written, very entertaining movie. So I feel like both movies were super high quality, but I feel like with Barbie, they had less to work with and did more. So that's why I'd have to give Barbie over Oppenheimer.
all right.
But
All right.
I love both movies in very
Yeah,
different ways. Barbie, the humor in it reminded me of like kind of the Nickelodeon Disney Channel stuff I grew up with, like Good
yeah.
Burger, Keenan and Kel, all that. Like I loved
They're
it.
they're
So
doing a sequel to Good Burger.
I saw it and it wasn't that good. Oh man. And I'm still trying to figure out why it didn't work. Because what surprised me was when I watched it, I thought, okay, I love that they got both main actors back, but it just didn't work like the first one. And I
Yeah,
looked up who wrote it, and it was the same writers as the first movie, minus Dan Schneider for obvious reasons, because it turns out he's a piece of trash. But um,
yeah,
it it felt because it didn't feel recycled either, where they were trying to do the same jokes again. It just wasn't very good. The budget was low, which I know hurt it
yeah.
relative
That
to the
was
first movie, but um, I was trying to think of why the first one worked, and I think it was a really good adaptation of a skit from all that, a recurring one, into a movie, and it didn't have too many expectations on what it had to be. So
but
they
well, this one did.
exactly, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I feel like some expectations. Like I actually just saw they're doing another Beverly Hills Cop movie.
oh,
Netflix
interesting.
doing one on
Okay,
Netflix, and they got the people back from the first one. And
same
meanwhile,
writers, or I know same actors, but
yeah,
same
yeah, I mean,
writers.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like Eddie's 60, but looks like it looks 40 somehow. Uh, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, if they have, or at the very least, I've seen the trend, especially in the comic book genre, of actors playing people they've been fans of, playing characters they've been fans of. And the first instance of this happening was a Lou Ferrigno as a Hulk. Like he was a big fan of the comics. And actually, there's a bit of
Well,
a
Ryan
bit
Reynolds
of a
became
sad
a fan of
story.
Deadpool before he played
Yeah,
it.
and then Robert Pattinson being a fan of Batman, and then just like having, and then also Iman Vellani who played Ms. Marvel. Like she's been writing a lot of comics for the character.
Yeah, and
So
her performance is fantastic for that character.
no,
I
no,
love
she was
it.
the
So,
best part of
oh,
that one. Right?
absolutely.
Just like being like a fangirl. I'm like,
And
oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
imagine what she could do if they had a decently written script for that movie.
Yeah.
Which
Or like
hopefully, I mean,
or Greta Gerwig writing for her. Like that would
yes.
be.
Well,
Yeah, I just
apparently
saw like
after Barbie, Greta
they did a
Gerwig's.
screening of they did an FYC for your consideration for Across the Spider Verse, and Greta Gerwig was there, and I'm like, if she could get Haley to be in a movie, I'd be like, that would just like
Yeah,
something like a weird like a female assassin movie, but with a twist where it's like
that'd
trying
be
to get
cool.
out of it. Just like something like just something different, like this
Well,
that did what
speaking of
Barbie.
different, have you heard what Greta Gerwig's doing now that Barbie's over? Her next project?
What?
She's doing a reboot of the Chronicles of Narnia series. And I know she's very critical of C.S. Lewis, and I was like, she's like, yeah, she's like, that sounds like the last project I'd sign up for, and it's really daunting. So I signed up for it. I was like, it's probably gonna be freaking awesome. So I'm excited. So
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Like
yeah.
like she could. I have faith that she could do well. But
Well, based on what you did with Barbie, I was like, give her any property she wants, like,
no,
because
yeah,
again, the big nebulous discussions around Barbie, and then a toy with no inherent
yeah,
narrative. That's like the ultimate heavy lifting for a writer to do, and
yeah,
her and Noah Baumbach did incredible in Barbie. So
yeah. No, like
that's
they,
that's my top movie of the year.
yeah, definitely.
Well, Drew,
And
thank you for regaling us with this epic top 10 movies of 2023 list. I do have one question before you go because I do want to pick your brain. I have to go in a few minutes, but
uh,
have you seen the trailers for Rebel Moon? Are you excited? Do you think it's going to be epic?
I have not seen the trailers for Rebel Moon, but I am a fan of what Zack Snyder does. Even before but like especially after seeing the Snyder cut of Justice League,
Yeah,
like and I also did a really good blog post on why it's a unique event where they took a movie that already came out sucked and then just reshot it like due to his original vision. And yeah, it's 4 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. Like it's the best long movie I've seen in a while. It's
nice.
definitely worth it. It's a better version. They just omitted Cyborg from the theatrical cut and like entirely. And
And
they
it
made
seems like that
Batman
was not a creative
they
decision. It was a
made
beef
Batman
between him and Joss
funny.
Whedon.
They made Batman funny, and they tried to give Henry Cavill a CGI shape,
I've
and they
seen that.
turned
It
him
does
into
not
a
look good.
fucking Ken doll. I mean, but then they came back with a Snyder cut, and it was definitely much better.
They
Like
do
it.
make a Snyder cut joke in Barbie that you'd like very much, I think.
Oh, okay.
They do.
Yeah, yeah, I heard about that.
I've not seen Justice League or the Snyder cut, but
Do not
Rebel.
watch the theatrical cut. Stay away from it completely.
It sounds like I don't
If
need
you
to.
if you
So
want to if you want to see DC try to be like Marvel, watch it.
I
But if you want like if
I
you
gave up on DC a long time ago. I gave
well,
up.
the Snyder
Yeah.
cut, give the Snyder cut a try. I mean, you'll have to give yourself a full day to
Well, because
check it
I haven't
out.
seen Batman vs Superman either, and it sounds like that's kind of a prerequisite.
Yeah, Man of Steel is on Netflix right now. Batman v Superman. Watch the Ultimate Edition, not
Okay.
watch the Ultimate Edition. It's a bit longer and it's a bit more cohesive because poor Zack Snyder has been a victim of studio interference way too often,
Yeah.
and oftentimes his vision by itself is a lot better than what the studio wants. So, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
I need to go back and watch more of his stuff because I have just kind of mixed on it. But I think he has potential as a director for sure. So
yeah, no,
I'm
yeah. I mean,
excited
I
for
mean, I
Rebel
mean,
Moon. I hope it's
he's
cool.
no Scorsese or Spielberg, but in terms of action, in terms of visuals, like,
Yeah, I
he
was
is
gonna,
like,
his visual acuity. I really like the way he visualizes
yeah.
scenes.
I was watching a bit of Man of Steel recently, and I think it's fine. I thought it
Yeah,
was okay.
I remember enjoying it when it came out. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I did love the that they had Weta Workshop do the Kryptonian armor. That was cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I
And I
mean,
liked the tone of the movie. I do remember that
yeah,
pretty distinctly. Yeah.
right,
But cool, man. I'm gonna go play some D&D. But this was an awesome podcast. Thank you
right.
for being on Nerds and Friends again. Everyone, go check out Drew's website. Drew, what is it again?
MrDrewsReviews.wordpress.com.
Perfect. I knew I was gonna say at WordPress, not .wordpress. So I'm glad you got it, dude. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.